Hello. It is day 19 of National Epilepsy Awareness Month, and I am sharing a little bit more of Alex's story today. We're up through summer of 2019. We talked about what family vacation was like. I talked in an earlier video about her getting to go to preschool a couple hours a morning, which was a really big step for her. And now we're coming up to fall of 2019 when something new came into the mix. You never know when something new is coming into the mix in this world. And in Alex's case, it was breath holding. Breath holding is still something that we're dealing with. But when it first started, everybody kept saying this is not completely uncommon with sensory kiddos, that they can hold their breath because they like how it feels. But I was also researching, and there is a breath holding syndrome. I'd never heard of it before. I imagine most of you haven't. It's involuntary. It's something in the brain, and when there's agitation or frustration or, kind of negative around, it's usually around negative emotions, they'll hold their breath until they pass out or fall over, sometimes start to turn blue, and then usually they're extremely upset as they come out of the breath holding. With Alex, she wasn't displaying all those typical breath holding syndrome attributes. She was holding her breath and she'd laugh while she was doing it. She'd keep chewing on something in her mouth while she was doing it. She'd look at you and smile while she was doing it. So it did seem to be more sensory, and it didn't seem to upset her. And we did talk to her neurologist about it, and she said she'd never seen any connection between breath holding and epilepsy, and everyone kept assuring us that it could potentially be something sensory. But then after, I'd say a few months, she started holding her breath a lot more. It wasn't just an occasional thing. It started to become a constant thing, to the point where she wouldn't pass out or anything like that, but she started having head drops. And at first we thought maybe she was making herself so dizzy that she was kind of, losing her tone for a minute, but it was looking like head drop tonic seizures. And again, everyone kept insisting that there's no connection between breath holding and epilepsy. They've never seen it. But as we came into the beginning of this year, I knew something was going on and something was wrong, because the breath holding was constant. The head drops were starting to become after every single time she'd finish holding her breath, unless you stopped her. If you stopped her mid-breath holding, nothing would happen. But if you let her finish and hold her breath as long as she wanted, the head drop would happen. So you can imagine what can come with that. One time at school, she head dropped right into the table where there was a little wooden pegged puzzle, and she got a huge lump on her head. Another time she face planted just into the table. Another time at home, we were sitting out front and she face planted and went right off the stoop of the porch onto the cement and scraped the side of her face and banged her head. We were at the point where I was starting to think we were going to need to get her some kind of safety helmet, which those do exist for people with epilepsy who are in danger of head injuries. We couldn't get her to stop. We kept trying everything we could to distract her, give her some other kind of sensory input, everything. I mean, this went on. I mean, it's still happening, but we'll get to that later. It's a lot different now, but it just kept getting worse. And my mommy gut kept telling me there was something else going on with the breath holding, that there was more to it than just a sensory piece, because the head drops that were happening definitely looked like seizure activity. And she was continuing to have her other seizures as well in the middle of the night and when she'd wake up from naps and sleeping. So a new thing for mommy to start to fixate on and try to learn about and try to figure out how we could address what's happening with her. And more to come on that later, because that took us through the beginning of this year. And as everybody knows, this year for all of us has been one heck of a year. And so the breath holding, talking to her neurologist, talking to her therapist, going back and forth, trying to figure out what was going on with her, brought us up through March, where right before COVID, she had an emergency room stay, which I will tell you more about in the next video. That was a rough a rough few days and the beginning of a few months of really trying to figure out what was going on. Things were changing and morphing with her, and it was she was starting to have some regression again. So these are the ups and downs. You never know. That's why I say right now we're not having, we have seizure freedom, which is huge. There are not words for how huge it is, even if it's just been 4 months. But we never know what else is coming around the corner, and it is a really hard feeling to get used to. But I'll tell you more about March and how these last several months have gone in my next video. If you're watching this, if you're one of the people that keeps telling me that you just keep forgetting, please just take a moment, click this link, donate a few dollars. Every little bit helps. I cannot stress that enough. Every little bit. So anything you can do to support this fundraiser would be fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I hope through all these videos you're having your eyes opened to the world of epilepsy, of special needs, and a lot of things you may not have understood and known about. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.